Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Welcome to One Mic and Daily DVR's deep dive into the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 3, entitled The Whole World is Watching. Once again,
Episode 4.
Oh, Episode 4.
Yes.
Thanks, Elvin. That's our guest, already helping me out. Episode 4. Didn't change it in my notes. But it is once again directed by Kari Skoglund and written by Derek Kolstad. Now, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, please do leave a like, subscribe, and write us a review. Also, check out Mike's Instant Reaction, which is on the One Mic channel. We also want your feedback. We have a little bit of feedback, so hit us up at DBR Podcast or leave a comment on the video. My name is Axel. With me, of course, is Mike and our special guest, Delvin Cox, who's already spoken. I'll let them say hello. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Ready to talk about another good episode. I've been enjoying the season. We got 2 more left. And this one I think gave us the most talking material. So at least from a perspective of like something beyond, I liked this action sequence, or I like, something. I think we got a little bit more depth here and a little bit more interesting stuff to discuss. A little different than what we have in the first 3.
Yeah, it was a great episode. And Delvin, welcome to the show. How you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself and whatever else you want to say.
I am host of the Delvin Cox Experience. I love Falcon and Winter Soldier. Those are the main 2 aspects you need to know. Also, protect Black women unless they're Dora Milaje, then they'll protect you.
Here, cheers to that.
Yeah, well, this was a great episode. Let's see. We had a little bit of feedback to start us out from both our friend Andy and his wife, too.
Oh, 2 separate bits of feedback. Okay.
Yeah, Andy and Claire, the theaters, have given us a lot of feedback, and it kind of helps us kind of jump right in, and it clues into, let's just kind of get into it, something that you talked about and that what most people are talking about, which is let's just start right at the end, which is with John Walker killing Nico, a flag waver who we had seen earlier in a scene speaking with Carly. He had told us he was a fan of Captain America. Well, he's not too much of a fan anymore. A little up and close, too comfortable to that shield in the face. But Claire just starts out saying John Walker has to go, hated him from the get-go, but now I cannot even look at my son's Captain America merch without being deeply disturbed by his actions.
Ouch.
She's going to the merch, hitting Disney where it hurts. But let's talk about it right from the beginning. Mike, you talked about it from the get-go, how much you disliked him. I had a different feeling because of the actor. I was a huge fan of Lodge 49, where he plays this hippie, like lovable, could never hurt a fly type of dude. And now he's obviously not playing that part here. But Delvin, what is your feeling about what we've seen from John Walker throughout this series, and particularly in this episode ending with him, murdering Nico in front of a whole crowd of people, simulcasting it onto YouTube, Facebook, whatever, all over the world?
I honestly think this was his best episode. And I'll tell you why, because this episode showed the struggle that it is and the pressure it is to hold up the mantle of something as prestigious as Captain America. And the fact of the matter is that he, frankly, this episode, more than anything, this episode shows that he's not cut out for that role. And not only because he killed the person at the end. Captain America killed people in many films. He was drop kicking dudes through walls. I'm quite sure those people didn't live. But the whole thing about it is there's a certain honor and dignity that Captain America always did when he goes into battle. And even when the odds are against him, and even he always tries to find a way to do the right thing. And John Walker, he always, even when he started, he always seemed like he was trying to be Captain America and also live in that shadow of Captain America. Like, for example, when this whole super serum thing came out, he wanted to take that so he can have the strength of Captain America because that would make him stronger. He's always trying to get stronger, better, and faster. When he first met with Falcon, he made a little comment about how, oh, you could be my sidekick. Kind of trying to like lean on to that. And in this episode, he starts to see that this job that I've kind of wanted to do, I'm not really cut out for it. And several aspects of this episode show that, like the whole thing where he tries to kind of put his will on the door, Milaje, and they kind of like beat the crap out of him relentlessly, but to the point where Bucky and Falcon have to save his ass. And if they wouldn't have saved, they would have literally killed him easily. And also the one scene where the Dora Milaje basically gave him pity, like she was going to take the shield from him because, honestly speaking, the shield is made out of Wakandan metal. So it's very much so in their right to take that back. But they were like, he's not even worth taking it back. Just give it to him, let him go. He felt shame and humility. And in that one big moment in this episode where he took the super soldier serum and still was not able to save his friend, and yeah, it was an accident or whatnot, but he wasn't able to protect the one person this whole series that he cared anything about. He failed to protect that person, and he kind of lost it. He didn't know how to handle it. Whereas Captain America, when he loses people, he understands that's part of war, but he doesn't go out for revenge. He goes out for justice. I think there's a difference between justice and revenge. John Walker doesn't know that line, frankly speaking.
Man. Oh, go ahead, Axel.
Oh, okay. You want me to go or you want to go?
Oh, no, go ahead. I actually have a question for you as well. So I kind of like for you to give your thoughts. Then I want to ask you my question and then I'll give mine.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it was, I mean, you could see it coming. It was building up. Delvin, like you said, when you go back and you think about the conversations that he had, particularly with Lamar, RIP, it was all about, remember, one of the first things Lamar said to him is, you can't punch your way out of this one, right? And he made reference to that fateful night when all these people died. We could have saved people in Afghanistan, right? Like, so perhaps there is a history here too of John Walker acting in this way. Now, when you think about why Steve Rogers was chosen, part of the thing was that when we first see him, because I just was rewatching Captain America with my son, and you get that kind of not great CGI when his head, he looks like a little baby where his head is so
yeah.
and he's walking around like this, right?
Yeah.
Figure body. And there was that scene just like in the first episode of this show when he's getting beat up with the garbage can in the alley.
Mm-hmm.
We understand like his background, so we only have to infer from these little statements that we're getting that John Walker already has this attitude within him, and and playing into the whole speech that Zemo had about supremacy, and that the serum, and it's also what Stanley Tucci said in the original movie, that serum makes you more of what you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is who this dude is. You know what I mean? And I think, there's been some interesting things written about how he kind of exemplifies American militarism. And I think that's an interesting aspect too. Just overall, I found it kind of shocking. I honestly didn't think that, speaking of merch, I didn't think that Disney would go there. And I think it's kind of cool that they did, because like Claire said, to think about, my son actually gave his little Captain America shield to the kid down the street, and he was just running around with it. And I saw it and I thought the same kind of thing. Like, I even saw like the blood dripping from it, you know. But yeah, that's what I thought is. I thought it was kind of a ballsy move for them to do this, and you know they didn't go all the way there. Like you didn't see a crushed head. Like it wasn't the Snyder cut of it. Like all of a sudden it turned black and white, and there's all this crushed goo or something. It was pretty. It was pretty moving. You know, it shocked me actually.
I think there's, before you go, Mike, I think there's a cool juxtaposition when, with the end of Civil War and the end of this episode, whereas Steve Rogers was over Iron Man the same way. It was could have easily killed Iron Man at that point in time, but chose mercy. And John Walker was placed in the same position and chose death. I think that's a cool cinematography, for that matter, and it showed the kind of parallel between these characters.
That's a good point. I hadn't considered that. What Axel said about the final scene being shocking. The first thing I want to point out about the final scene is I just thought that was a cool closing shot to the episode, like the blood dripping from the bottom of the shield and the way it was shot from down looking up. Like I thought that was just a cool shot to end the episode. But as far as John himself goes, like Axel said, I haven't liked him from day one. It was always kind of based on nothing really important. It was like, you know, he shows up at the end of episode 1. I'm like, oh, I don't like this new Captain America's face. Like he has a very hittable face. He looks like Joffrey. I don't like him. Episode 2, it was kind of like, oh, okay, now he's kind of grinding my nerves, but it was more of a like, I don't like the fact that he keeps talking to Sam and Bucky with this entitlement, like of just like I wouldn't go so far as to call it disrespectful, but it's more of a just it's not
Privilege.
quite it's like a lack, not disrespectful, but a lack of respect, like kind of sitting in that space in between, and I didn't care for that. So like now we get to see him fully turn into who he is, and now I think everybody fucking hates him. But one of the things that I thought was kind of cool from a technical sense anyway, from how they did this, is I like the fact that John went to Lamar, I believe, hoping that Lamar would talk him out of taking the serum, because he seemed very concerned at the idea of him taking the serum. Like you could tell he was considering it. And that was interesting to me, because when he pocketed it originally, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to take that shit. But then when he started talking to Lamar, he's like, yeah, you know, if you could take the serum, would you do it? Like he was very, he was questioning whether or not he was going to do it. And Lamar said the same thing that I think his name's Erskine in the first Captain America, the guy that Stanley Tucci played.
Yes.
And he says he said that, the thing about it making you more who you are, and he's like, would you take it? Hells yeah. Like he was, you know, and then he kind of like he gassed him up, like like yeah, like you're totally in this, dude. Like you could totally take it. And then they have him take it off camera, which I thought was a very smart choice as well, because I'm sitting here watching him fight. And then it's like seeing the results of the fight. There was a moment where I was like, "Oh shit, he took the fucking serum," and I thought that was a wise technical choice by what's her name? The director, Kari Skoglund. I thought it was a wise choice for that. But and the last thing is what I wanted to ask Axel. You mentioned, like, you know, at the beginning that you didn't really have any issue with him, and you really like the actor. How do you feel about the character now versus in episode 1, but more importantly, how do you feel about the actor? Because from how you described him in Lodge 49, and I've seen stills from that show. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen the stills. I feel like this guy must be really fucking good.
Yeah, and you know what? He has played characters like this. He was in a movie that the name is escaping me, Overlord, where it was about Nazis creating
Great movie.
vampires and some kind of creatures, right? And
Yes.
he's tougher in that movie too. He's kind of, I can't remember if he's like a bad guy, but I do remember that he's much rougher than he is, and he's more like he is in this show. I think he's got great range. I think that the buildup was a little fast, but this is a 6-episode series, you know? And it seemed like they could have given it a little bit more than the little conversations they have, but that's still more than we're getting in the movies a lot of times, where things are happening so fast, you just have to fill in the blanks. So generally speaking, I think that he built it up well. I think he acted it very well. And I think the character, we still don't know. And I think we're going to find out more about what happened between him and Lamar in the past. And because it seemed to me, like you said, Mike, you made a great point. It's almost like Battlestar was his conscience, right? And like his wife, too. He seemed like the kind of man who had no strong sense of right or wrong. He needed the guidance of other people. And that's not the type of person that you want to give that kind of power to.
Man, great point.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Very easily propelled by the momentary emotions that he was feeling instead of what was really better for everyone involved. And that's something that Steve never did. And that's something that Sam wouldn't do, that Bucky wouldn't do. But we did see him do it. And we also, though, to flip it a little bit, we also see a big turn too from, let's not forget the reason why he ended up killing the guy, not take the serum, which is Carly kills Battlestar. And that was kind of, I wanted to talk about that because I thought it was so strange the way these superhuman beings are beating the living shit out of each other. People are flying, right? Things are almost hitting people and they're grabbing them, right? And even every battle. But then when somebody actually dies in front of them, it's like they all got woke up and they're like, holy shit, we're actually fighting each other here.
I have a question for both of y'all before we move on to that topic. My question is this, on the subject we were talking about before. Do you think there'll be consequences for John Walker because of this? Because I asked this question because, truthfully speaking, he killed a terrorist, quote unquote.
Well, how do you define consequences?
Okay, let's lay it on the line.
Like, do you mean consequences as far as like his role as Captain America specifically, or just consequences in general?
His role, in terms of his role as Captain America, because he is essentially at this point, he is a U.S. agent. He works, pun intended, but he works for the government. His job is to get the job done and to be like a public figure. But this type of stuff is kind of par for the course for the government. They look at this group as a terrorist organization. They kind of want you to take them out. So this feels like something that, while we, the viewers, see it as a horrible thing, the government was like, no, he was just doing his job. Battlestar got killed by this terrorist group, and he's going back hunting them down. So this situation can easily be flipped and make it look like Falcon and Bucky are the bad guys in the situation.
Yes, and I see where you're going with that, and I think I can see that happening. But I think that if they want to mirror this as much as they can to real life, they're gonna have to his consequences, whatever happens with him, is gonna have to be based off public perception. Like the cameras recording the video of what happened, that's pretend like this happened in real life. That shit's gonna be all on Twitter. Everybody's gonna be retweeting it. Everyone's gonna be talking about it. People are gonna be writing think pieces. This ain't no Steve Rogers, like those kinds of things. And then you're gonna have people making the case that you just made. I won't say making a case, but making that point. So I think it's gonna have to, whatever happens is gonna have to be based on how the public perceives it. And I feel like the public perception isn't gonna be looked at so pragmatically. Like they're not gonna be like, well, this happened to Battlestar and this I feel like the public perception is gonna be, we just saw a guy with Captain America's shield dressed like Captain America doing some shit Steve Rogers would never fucking do. And so my gut says yes, there will be consequences because the public won't stand for it. But your point about the government being okay with it is highly fucking valid. So I guess I kind of land on I don't know. But I think if it's based on public perception, I feel like it should be, as things are today in 2021. You are far more likely to be indicted, metaphorically, by the public and have that affect your career than you are whoever it is that actually handles your career saying you fucked up, I'm taking this away. It's usually in response to the public saying we don't fuck with you no more. And so like if it wants to be based on reality, it needs to tie in with how the public is going to perceive that Cell video.
Yeah, I think that they definitely try to cover it up. And if they had some of that Batman shit where they could like go into everyone's phone and change it, so I've got a gun and I'm gonna shoot you, Captain America, and then he slams the shield on his head. I think that the show might end up playing with the cop incident before. And Mike, I keep on remembering what you said in like Bucky Gets Woke, where that early video is played with this video, and somehow they juxtapose how like Sam and Bucky are being treated and how this guy is treating other people. You know what I mean? I think that it could lead. I think that in the show, I would guess that the powers that be that appointed him Captain America are going to try to cover this up or make up for it in any way, or like you were saying, even blame Sam and Bucky for it, or maybe blame the terrorists themselves, or say he had a bomb or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I think that the public thing, what you're saying, Mike, is where it's at, because it is a Marvel show. So you'd think that they're gonna, in this world, the public is gonna be outraged. But we do know what country we live in, people, in the real world, and we know that probably 70 million or so people, give or take, would think, oh, that's strong. Captain America should kill motherfuckers when they're terrorists.
Damn, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
See, this is America, right? Like in America, like, you know, hide the blood, go do it, America. Like this was the best thing. Like people who were saying, like, I was waiting for Steve Rogers to do this shit. He was too nice all the time.
Yeah,
oh man, that would hit too close to home. I'd be sad watching that shit. Like, oh, God.
You know, the comic touches on that a little bit.
I don't know if Disney's going to go there, but the truth of the matter is that's what would happen in real life.
That is what would happen in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fox News would be putting that on every break, would be a new graphic of him with the bloody shield.
And they would interview him like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And they would call the people who thought that what he did was crossing the line. They would call those people snowflakes or cowards or whatever. Yes. Yeah, no, you're right.
Unpatriotic.
Yes.
So I think that's what
I would like if they did that. Honestly, I would like that. That'd be some pretty risque shit for them to do. I dig that.
They have.
I think that'd be dope.
Us. And look, this whole episode is steeped in this. And you know, like we've talked about before, it's not as overt as it was, say, in Watchmen or Lovecraft Country or something that dealt more directly with America and its racial history and past and present. But I think that this shows, I mean, look, the whole episode really starts out with Zemo talking about white supremacy. That's what he's talking about. Supremacy. Yeah. And now that Carly's got the little bit of the white supremacy in her, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's working for Disney. She's willing to kill people, you know? Like, remember I was saying, we were kind of contemplating, Mike, last episode, if because they distilled this serum from Isaiah, did it have his anger in it, right? Or his injustice in it? And I think that's an interesting idea, because the conversations that play out, especially between Carly and Nico, and then Carly and Sam, this was an interesting episode, because though it had some fucking awesome action scenes that were super fun too, it also had a lot of like two-handers, just people talking to each other about their emotions and their ideas. So I do think that there's a possibility that they go in that direction, where there's a group of people who like this Captain America.
I would, as much as I don't like this Captain America, but I don't like this Captain America for like literal in-world reasons. Like that's just kind of like what I'm supposed to be feeling as a viewer. But as someone who's looking at this from the perspective of someone who's going to talk about this show you know, on its merits. Like, is this a good show or not? I would love if they did that. Like, I think that'd be a really brave decision to make, which, I mean, they've shown with WandaVision, they're down with making brave decisions with what they want to, how they want to present something. I think that'd be really cool if they did that, because we were definitely supposed to be coming away from that episode like, yo, what the fuck with this guy? And people come back and are like, oh man, it's about time Captain America got some balls. I'm like, yo, this is just like real life.
And then you add to the fact that, and this is something we didn't touch on yet, that Sam and Bucky bust out a war criminal. They literally bust a war criminal out of jail.
Great point, man.
So that can easily be flipped around like, hey,
he bust himself out, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, Delvin, that's a great point. You're right. That could further be used to frame them.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of thinking, like, I came into this series thinking that it was going to be basically like some sort of kind of who gets the shield, Bucky, or that's really what it's about. But I'm thinking, like you said that, and it kind of reminded me as they were getting hunted down when they first met up with John and Battlestar, they just walk up on him in the street. But I love when that happens in the MCU, right? People are always just like, oh, hey, look, there's another superhuman. Oh, like they're down the street, right? And
like they're at Comic-Con.
Everyone's like, just weird. Oh shit, I lost my train of thought because that made me laugh. I thought about videotaping superheroes on the street.
That is a funny concept.
Oh man, what was I talking about?
Fucking Spider-Man right there over at Denny's.
Yeah.
Hey, aren't you the Winter Soldier? Why are you doing this coffee shop?
What are the odds? Me and the Winter Soldier in Latvia hanging out. Like,
Oh gosh, I can't. I don't even remember what my. Do you guys remember what I was saying before that?
Let's see. You were saying it's weird that people walk down the street and see others. So no, it was too early it was too early in your point.
I'll find it somewhere. But I did want to bring up one thing, which
but it had to do with Delvin talking about Falcon and Sam and Buck breaking out a war criminal.
Maybe they'll end up at the end of this, maybe because they keep on talking about destroying the shield. And Andy brings this up in his letter, which is Andy was saying, and remember how earlier Red Wing got destroyed? And Andy wrote us that letter in the first episode about how in the MCU shit is always getting destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the shield will get destroyed, or they'll steal it, and really at the end of this series they'll both be on the run, like against the government, because we do have the history of all these different acts and superheroes. I can't remember what was the name. Now they're trying to do this new patch act they mentioned in this too. So I think that they're setting us up for that kind of Civil War-esque thing where maybe they're on the run again away from the government, for breaking Zemo out and stealing a shield, being involved in this, and they're going to be the bad guys,
I can honestly see them going forth with kind of like a Dark Avengers type feel. And what I mean by that, like hey, this is a government-funded Avengers group who essentially worked for the government that's led by U.S. agent, per se.
Yeah.
But they run government-funded exercise. Basically what Captain America was constantly talking about in Civil War, what he did not want to see. Exactly. He didn't want the Avengers as a weapon. But the government wants the Avengers as a weapon to do all their dirty work.
Yeah.
So I can easily see them going that route. Like, hey, here's our Avengers.
Like an SS, which is basically, Super Soldier S. I think the origin of Captain America himself, the Super Soldier Serum, comes from actual Nazi experiments.
Yes.
And also the fact that we all know now that all the Nazis were on drugs. They were all on amphetamines. They were constantly hepped up. And that was a big part of the Nazi regime. So I think that kind of winding that history into what we're talking about is some really interesting shit, man. You know, and I have to say, I like the way that they mention this stuff, and they give us an into it, and they talk about it. But I think that they've done a pretty decent job of keeping it kind of understandable for everyone, and offering enough for you to kind of pontificate on and go deeper on, without, like you were saying earlier, Mike, without being preachy, or without be kind of saying like, this is what Disney's saying to you. You know, I think they're doing a pretty good job of this, you know?
Yeah.
So talking about Carly briefly, I also want to talk, there was something you said actually that triggered another thought in my mind. Oh, it was never mind, I lost it that fast. Anyway, when Carly inadvertently killed Battlestar, I'm not going to call him Lamar, I'm going to call him a name that he's earned, Battlestar. Yeah, you could see that there was the immediate regret and shock in her face. And that made me think of what we mentioned about the idea of this serum having some form of like Isaiah in it, to where like in the moment she was like, you know, pissed off, doing like lost control of her emotions. And then in that moment when she saw what she had done, that shock of like, oh wait, this isn't what I was trying to do at all. And I thought that was a good moment for that actress. That was a fun scene overall, like that, like from top to bottom, like the both that scene and the fight scene with the Dora Milaje and John, man, they really are consistently keeping me very pleased with these battle sequences.
Yes.
It's really fantastic. The one thing I wanted to, because when we were talking about the super soldier, the Nazi stuff, one thing that I found interesting, and someone mentioned it earlier, in how the fight scene, how both the shield, how black women take from these two white guys, right? The shield and his fucking arm too. When she takes Bucky's arm off, she just goes, and his arm just drops down onto the fucking ground, right? Yeah. And then you remember that both of these things came from Wakanda, right? And what they're fighting about. I think that the layers of that, and then you have that white guy decide after that happens to take this fucking Nazi super soldier serum, I think is just such an interesting, and then he goes and he kills this other guy. After his partner is killed, they're just building such interesting and intricate historical and present resonance throughout the storyline. I think it's just really super interesting. And the one shot too, when she's holding the shield, is, I wish that they had done a little bit more of a hero shot of that. Instead of showing it from the side, they had kind of pulled around like that, because I think that's an idea too they keep on talking about. And I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about this idea? Because they have the idea of like Thor's hammer, right? Like only a good person can hold the hammer. And then we see that Steve gets to pick up the hammer too and fight with it against Thanos. What do you feel about the shield, about the idea of destroying the shield, what it represents to you? I mean, how do you feel about that, Delvin? What is that shield, the stuff that they're bringing up about America's history, about Sam holding the shield? What do you think about that?
I think it's fascinating because I think if you take the shield for what it is, it's just a weapon. But for the longest time, that shield meant something to so many people in terms of Captain America holding up with honor and dignity and respect. And truthfully told, it's not the same shield because the original shield was broken in Endgame. So that's the shield that he's had rebuilt and things like that by Wakanda. But the whole honor of holding that shield is important to the society because it's kind of like how, I don't know how to describe it. Like, how you get somebody. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. Like something that is just so wholesome to so many people that means so much. I don't want to say the flag of America because the flag has multiple meanings and reasons, but the character of Captain America meant so much for so many people in this world because he was that one who stood up for the ones who couldn't fight, for the weak, for the innocent, for the peaceful. Even when he was quote unquote a war criminal, people were still rooting for Captain America because they knew that he was doing the right thing. And I think up to this point, that shield meant whoever was holding that shield would be doing the right thing, even if that meant sacrificing themselves in the process. John Walker works for the government. He is, to me, what I get from John Walker, like you guys said earlier, the super soldier serum brings out your real traits. John Walker seems like he's that all-American white guy captain of the football team. He went to the military, always was like top of his class in the military and stuff like that. He always seems like that guy who got his way because that's how life ended up working out for him. And now that he's Captain America now, he's starting to see the reality of like, hey, everything's not going to go your way. You're not always going to be the top soldier, the best thing, but you have to do the right thing. Now that is messing with him, and that's why he is kind of tainting the shield because he doesn't know how to deal with not being able to get his way, his privilege, what he thinks he is owed. And I think that the whole show is kind of predicated on the fact that Cap gave Sam the shield not because he was the best fighter, not because he was the strongest, not because he was the smartest, because he, out of all the Avengers, he was the only one who Cap felt at that time would be willing to fight for what's right, no matter what the consequences are, and no matter if it even cost him his life. Like the whole Winter Soldiers, the whole Captain America trilogy, especially the second one and third one, was based off the fact that everything Cap said, hey, we gotta go stop Bucky, but we gotta keep him alive. Sam like, you know what? Let's do it. Everything Cap said, we're gonna be fugitives from justice when we do this, Bucky. Sam, are you down to do this? Let's do it. It's the right thing to do. Everything Cap said, Sam 100% was behind. Did not falter at all. And I think that's an important aspect of that character. And that's an important aspect of Captain America, who he is. Captain America is very loyal to the people who are loyal to him, but at the same time, he's also a person who understands the importance of caring about the little man, because he was one point with the little man. He was the little guy. And if he didn't have somebody standing up for him, then he wouldn't be where he was at today. So the shield and his legacy is very important. And for the most part, up to this point, if you just go based off the shield's history, up to this point, it hasn't been tainted. Now, with the person who's holding it now, he's effectively ruining the legacy of that shield.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything to add to that. I was going to say the same thing, but probably far less gracefully. But yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like the shield has its legacy, and he's fucked it up. That's what I was going to say. I wasn't gonna say anything as profound as what Delvin said. But yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about it too. I think about when we first met John on the show at the beginning of episode 2. And you remember he was in that locker room at his high school talking to his wife or whatever. And he had pressure, he had doubt, but he wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to live up to the expectations of what it is to be Captain America. And it's interesting to see him as the following 2 episodes progressed, how he turned into someone who became less concerned with living up to what the shield meant and more concerned with living up to what the government wanted. And I think when we talk about, and we could talk about this maybe next, I don't know, but when we talk about the idea of supremacy as it pertains to superheroes, when you throw in that super soldier serum, and it makes you more of who you are, and you're already in that place where you're questioning yourself, you're already in that place where you don't know if you can live up to the expectations of doing the right thing. It can make you into somebody who does something like that. And what Delvin said about a government-based Avengers versus the Avengers that we are currently accustomed to, I think that's where we'll start to see that concept of supremacy, because I don't personally believe in that as in a whole sense, that it, that there you can really tie the two together completely. But with this potential, like I like Delvin's idea of this potential like government-based Dark Avengers, like you could see it, like I could see that happening there, because the whole idea of supremacy revolves around, well, superiority and supremacy, and that's not something that we see out of this core group of Avengers. Like we don't see that. Like they want to help people. They're not out here to, hey, we're better than you are. But John's giving me all kinds of that fucking vibe.
I just thought about something that ties into this, what I said earlier. I'm glad you mentioned it. WandaVision, they were building a government version of Vision.
That's true. They were.
So that leads into that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Yeah. And I think we should talk about the supremacy part. It made me think of where it all came from and the Nazis and Nietzsche.
I'll be right back, folks. You keep talking.
Cool. Of the Ubermensch and the idea that there is some kind of greater man, or like today, we have this thing that's become popular to talk about alpha males, right? Like I'm an alpha, he's a beta, yeah. Like this kind of bullshit, which always, whenever someone says that to me, I start thinking about Nazi shit. That's exactly what that reminds me of, is classifying people by their base tendencies, or that aggression makes you more supreme, the top of the food chain, which by the way is not true, because the way that it's pack hunting that helped people. It's working together, not having lone aggressive dudes run out there and get the lion, right? It was smart thinking that did it. And I think that's like what Mike says, which is that the Avengers and what we have seen so far is a group of people who agreed to work together to protect Earth because it was being attacked by aliens, sorcerers, and androids.
Right? Yeah. And they did it for no money. That's the crazy thing about it. They did it for free.
Great point, Delvin, which is brought up earlier when Sam can't even get the loan for his boat and his house, though he saved the entire planet Earth. And it makes it what they are setting up, and they have done it before with Civil War, right? And the Hydra as well, which is the idea that they're going to have to go off on their own, and that if they do come together, it has to be a coalition of the willing, right? Kind of like when people say when you get married, you wake up every day and remarry the person, right? Like every day I agree to be with them, instead of this government thing. And you guys are picking up on that too. I like what you said, man, about how they were making another Vision, and there's all these groups that all of a sudden we haven't heard of, right? Have 3-letter names, the GCU, and then making new laws and stuff. I think they're setting up another interesting kind of battle here. That's really cool. Is that a comic book thing, like a dark government Avengers that they set?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's definitely other versions of the Avengers. The Dark Avengers is a group of Avengers who are I want to say government funded, but they are run by like Abomination's one of them. Norman Oswald funds the group. And if I remember correctly, he's wearing the Iron Man suit as well.
Yeah, because he's good stuff.
Yeah, so
and it could bring us even to the X-Men, because so much of the X-Men is the government and like senators, and they really got into that kind of political stuff when it came to the X-Men.
Yeah, I think I like the direction the show is going into, because they're showing you that the government, with this show and WandaVision thus far, they're showing us that the government is up to some things that we may not be aware of, like that. Like we found out about Sword. We still don't know where's Nick Fury, by the way. We don't know what Nick Fury is doing. We don't know what, and that's a good thing. We know that Nick Fury's in space working on something. That's what we know. But the fact on Earth, we're seeing these whole other almost renegade factions of the government doing their own thing. Like I said, they were making their own version of Vision. So they're kind of trying to make their own makeshift Avengers. They got the shield from Sam, and immediately, as soon as they got the shield, here's our own version of Captain America. The world needs a Captain America, which they honestly didn't need, but that shows you that they want their version of the Avengers that they can maintain, fund, and the most important part is control.
Mm-hmm.
Control. Yeah, you're right, because Steve was no longer doing shit like that. He had long ago abandoned being a figurehead that was shipped off to like car shows, you know what I'm saying, to sell shit for people. So they just get to restart that again. I love all this stuff because it really does tie into a bunch of dudes like writing these comics, tripping on acid during like the Watergate hearings, thinking that, right? Like everybody, you know, I mean, and hey, there is a long history of the CIA, the FBI, the NSA spying on Americans and having covert operate. This is all stuff that's real life. And it's always fun when they kind of put it in there. But speaking of Nick Fury, they are going to do the what is it, Secret Invasion thing, right?
Yes.
With Kree and Skrull, that is going to be a TV show with Samuel Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn. And I wonder if they're going to get into if what we're talking about here also involves that, right? Forming the kind of being able to control the government and a secret Avengers. So you're controlling Earth's mightiest heroes, you know? So I think that that's an interesting idea too, that they're playing into all this secret shit, which I really love that secret shit, man.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
too.
And I think it's very interesting too, because after the end of the first the Infinity Saga, my thought was like, okay, what do you do now? Because you can't just do, you can't just do some regular shit. Like we as fans, whether this is fair or not, are going to be expecting them to take it up a notch, which is like ridiculous to me. The idea of like what we experienced over the course of 10, 12 years, something give or take. What we experienced over that time was something that had not been done before. And now we're going to be looking at Marvel and Disney like, okay, what are you going to do to step it up? And this would do it. Like, this is cool. Like I dig all this kind of shit, and and tying in the TV with the movies and all kinds of secrets and government conspiracies. Like, I eat that shit up, man. Like, so yeah, I'll be. And when I say I eat that shit up, not like in real life. I like it in my film and television. I don't buy into that kind of shit in real life, actually, but neither here nor there.
I like what this show's doing so far in terms of, I'm going to be super interested how, because there's 2 more episodes left, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be super interested in how they're going to wrap all this up, because there's still a lot more stuff to go in terms of who is the power broker. Then you add to where Zemo went. And I have a funny suspicion that by the end of this show, he's going to take that super soldier serum.
Is there any for him?
See, you know what, Delvin? This is exactly what I was gonna say. Is when last episode, remember I was talking about how they showed the vials when the place was burning, and then the one was missing, and then here he keeps on stomping on all the vials, and then there's like kind of weird cuts where maybe he could have reached down and taken one, or I don't know. I just got this. He picked one up at a certain point, and he looked at it, and it was with such disdain. But for a second, I felt like he was going to take it.
I did too.
And I remember last episode, I felt like, is he going to end up taking it too? So I'm glad that you said that, Delvin, because I get the feeling that because the truth of the matter is, he too is a supremacist. Come on.
That's my point. Yeah.
Driving around in a private jet and talking about everywhere he goes, when we were this used to be a great place. Now look at it. You know, like he's
I'm a baron. Of course, I
yeah,
have a fucking private jet.
that's like epitome of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, was never too far from Hydra to begin with, right? So I think that it would play perfectly to have him, you know, you can't beat him, join him, or to think that because he was, I am pure, I am great, this will make me even better. You know what I'm saying? It won't affect me. So I like that, Delvin. I love that idea.
I can honestly see him wanting to destroy the rest of the super soldier vials so no one else can become a super soldier, but that doesn't exclude him from becoming that dominant force and kind of wanting to take over himself. Like everything he's been saying about how he wants, how the vial is dangerous. He doesn't want to create other super soldiers because he knows superheroes are a dangerous threat. He's referring to that power being wielded by other people. He's not referring to that power being wielded by himself.
That's exactly why I thought he was going to take it in that moment. Like in that moment when he picked up that first vial, I was like, he gonna take that shit.
That's how these people always are, right?
Mm-hmm.
The least racist person in the world.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Right? Like he thinks he's the so I do want to say it is kind of funny, speaking of Zemo, about how when the fight broke out in his lair, and his lair is kind of cool too. I like the where he's like, we've got to go somewhere. And they're like, where are we going? Just some lair I have. It's a big cool room. Don't worry about it. It'll look nice. But how he like slips out and like runs away while everyone is fighting. I also wanted to mention the Swedish delights when he's
the candy. Yeah.
little kids. Like, what the fuck was up with that? Can someone explain that to me? Like when he first said, they're at the lair and he asked Sam and Bucky, do you want a Swedish delight? And then they showed them. I was like, am I missing something here? Or is that code for something that I don't know about? Or I don't know.
I don't think the candy was
It's just
itself
weird.
was special. I think it was meant to show us that it was meant to show us Zemo's powers of manipulation.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the way I looked at it. I don't think, I think it was Turkish Delight.
Turkish.
Was the name of the candy. I don't even know what that is because I don't eat candy. I was like, is that a real candy or is that something that he just made up? Or I don't know.
Toffee.
Oh, okay.
Saltwater toffee, I think it is. Taffy or
Yeah. It was how they framed those sequences of events because it's like he offers it to them, they tell him to fuck off or whatever, and then then they show us Sam and Bucky unsuccessfully trying to get the information that Zemo does successfully get because of the candy. Like, it's just meant to show us like this guy is a manipulative motherfucker, and it's gonna come back around at some point.
something, and that was like from an earlier movie, or it was a comic reference, or something.
If it is, it was lost on me.
Turkish Delight is 100% a thing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's
Wait, you mean in real life or within the MCU or within Marvel, I should say?
Real life.
Oh, okay.
Turkish Delight is a family of confections based on a gel of starch and sugar. That's the Wikipedia for it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like toffee, saltwater taffy or toffee or whatever the fuck you could have called it.
Yeah.
So where do you think Zemo went off to?
Good. I have no fucking clue. The only thing I can think of is he's, I think, like I've said before, and I think I said it on the initial reaction that I did for this episode, is that Baron Zemo is the kind of guy who is always playing the long game. And I think the long game, the end of his long game is something that we have yet to see. And obviously something also that we have not been given enough information to predict. So I think that like him escaping through that sewer or whatever, I think this was all part of his plan. Like this, and we're just seeing it unfold. And since, he was broken out of prison and been with them ever since, we haven't been given any clues purposefully to have any idea of what this long-term plan is. And we're still supposed to be in a space, well, maybe not anymore, but up to this point, we were supposed to be in a space where he's helping, he's just kind of, along for the ride, but he very clearly has an agenda. The way he searched for that gun when they were in the scientist's office, like you said, his is he going to take the serum? Is he not going to take the serum? Escaping, like he's been doing a whole lot of like underhanded shit just and very subtle, like the way they've been doing it with him. He clearly has a long-term game plan and an agenda, and it's just a matter of how what it is and when we're going to get there. I'm assuming he was probably he might be in league with the power broker to some extent. It would just be a matter of to what degree, because if you are in league with the power broker, why would you aid Avengers in finding him or her? So but again, it's Zemo, man. Like, he's got some fucking plan.
I think that there's a makeshift army out there of flag smashers that need a leader. And who else better than Baron Zemo to influence them? Like, hey, you guys are doing things the wrong way. Let me show you the right way to do things.
Are you talking about a group separate from the flag smashers we've seen so far? Or are you talking about he will take over for Carly?
He will end up taking over for Carly and voting certain members in that community itself, because when he went and talked to those kids, he specifically pointed out, like, hey, those guys are the bad guys. They're not going to do nothing for you. He's dropping seeds to everybody about who's the bad guys and giving them saltwater taffy. Let's call a spade a spade. Zemo has a lot of money.
Yeah.
So all he has to do is just go drop some money in this community and say, hey, I'm going to take care of you. The flag smashers aren't being run properly. Let's give them some funding. Let's get them on the right direction. And Zemo is the type of manipulative person who can take on an organization just like that.
Yeah, I like that, and it clues into his supremacy speech. He can use that same argument on them, like, she made the wrong decision here. She chose to go with them.
I thought you were going to say she chose violence, and I was going to be like, oh, Axel with the Game of Thrones reference.
She did. She chose violence, right? And he can kind of, I love that idea, Delv. I love it, because this scene when we see the flag smashers all hanging out in some abandoned whatever it was, right? And they're all looking at their phones. And by the way, they were all watching, like, it was like what vertical their phone was, right? Like it was like long. I thought that was so weird, the way it was, like the newscast was supposed to be that. I don't know. It's just I thought it was strange. But anyway, they were all upset about the dead people.
Yeah.
Right? They were all looking, so they were Nico didn't like it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now Nico's dead, and she killed Battlestar too. So I think that is a great idea. And they've talked again and again and again about how this flag smasher thing, we're seeing this little group, but they keep on telling us and showing us this is a worldwide organization that has a lot of support. It is like a big like internet phenomenon among people, right? And so I think that that's a great idea. That
they're like the MCU QAnon.
I was just gonna say that.
They're kind of good though, right? Like, if he says she went the wrong way, she did wrong, we shouldn't be hurting people, we should be helping. He might be able to somehow even legitimize that organization and work with the government in some way in the future, right? I mean, they all
Zemo's smart enough to manipulate that whole organization and take it over without them even realizing, hey, look, the person y'all have running it right now is causing too many casualties to your people. Yeah. You guys aren't doing big enough acts to have this much casualties. Like, I can show you the way to where you guys need to be at and how we can really topple this government. Because that's all it's really about. It's about people who are disenfranchised trying to shake up the system enough to make right things happen. But a lot of times you have these type of specific groups, what they think is right and what is 100% right doesn't always gel together, especially when the leadership at the top is faltered. Because Carly, let's call it spade a spade, she doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know the consequences of her actions. Her whole idea, her plan literally was, hey, to solve our problem, let's kill Captain America. Yeah. That was her only plan, which wouldn't have solved their problems at all. That would have made their problems a lot worse.
Dumb. Yeah. Yeah. And it was also much in the same way with John. They're like two sides of the same coin in a sense, because it was just based on her vengeance, right? She wanted vengeance for someone who died, which was what we doing the whole funeral thing. I do want to talk a little bit about the power broker. But I do want to say that I did think that there were the speech that Carly gave and the conversation with Sam, and particularly when Sam said, I agree with your fight, just not the way you're fighting it.
Mhm.
Made me think, Delvin, you're talking about Zemo maybe taking over the Flag Smashers. Could we see Sam and Bucky somehow help them, reform them? You know, because it seems like Sam and he keeps on telling Bucky too, hey, they're just trying to help people out. Maybe, they're going about it the wrong way, but I believe I can talk to her. He seemed to have this deep core belief that that what they're doing is right. He even argued, hey, how would you feel if, for 5 years, the whole world came together and joined as one to help each other. And then in one instant, that all disappeared because you had to worry about, and all of the same institutions came back. You would be pissed off too. So I think that maybe we'll even see Sam go off with them and Bucky do his thing or whatever. But I do think that in the essence, that Flag Smasher thing, like you're saying, Delvin, it's like that's kind of like a crew that's out there that's not going to just go away because Carly dies or like the leader or something, right? It can be kind of turned a different way.
I agree. I think
What do you
there's
think about the let's kind of end it off here. I think we've done a great job of chatting. This has been great, guys. What do you all think? Any new theories or ideas about the power broker? We did get to see Sharon here a little bit, and she's talking about Madripoor's blowing up. The power broker's upset. We get a little phone call with her where she was going through like a neat little thing where they're it looked like a video game where they set up the blockades through the video game,
Yeah.
But I don't know. Any ideas about did that for me? I mean, I'll start off because I don't really have much to say. I don't know. She said she was going to try to help, but then she really just said like, you've got to see this through. So I didn't know. I didn't really get much from that, to be honest.
I'll go next because I don't have much either, but I'm still standing with my theory that she's the power broker. I didn't have anything. Even though there wasn't much done with her in this episode, I didn't see anything that made me think she is not the power broker. And then, like you said, at the end of that phone conversation, when she said something like, we just got to get this done. But she also said something like, you have to find Carly. And that is something that Sharon, the good person, would say. And that's also something that the power broker would say. So I didn't hear anything that made me think that made me go, oh, it's not Sharon. So
I will say this. If she's not the power broker, it needs to be someone cool that's the power broker.
What do you mean by someone cool?
Like you can't have some random ass person be like, hey, this is the power broker. Like,
oh yeah, no, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
it can't just be some random of like, who the fuck is that? No, it has to be somebody important. Oh, that reminds me. Did you guys see? I think it was today actually. Yeah, it was earlier today that someone involved with the show, I can't recall who it was, like an executive producer, so I don't know, some shit, said that there's a character appearance in the next episode that's like massive, like somebody that we haven't seen who is steeped in Marvel lore, and who they want to work with Thor in the future.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's some big character reveal coming in the next episode. So that could tie in with if it's obviously not Sharon. And you said it, and I agree, the power broker needs to be somebody important. It can't just be a random motherfucker. Like, what if this person, this big character appearance ends up being the power broker? They didn't say if it was a good guy or a bad guy. They just said there's going to be a big deal character that shows up in the next episode. So could be.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
Well, we didn't. I don't know if we mentioned in this show, you did in the beginning of your instant reaction, but I totally did think that Black Panther was going to show up in the beginning.
I did too. Yeah.
Andy had another prediction. Okay. Says old Steve Rogers old Cap is going to show up. And because this has gotten so worldwide, that he's going to have to somehow step in and try to make things right in some way. I don't know. I could see that, but I don't know if that would really help at all, because I don't think that, I don't know. I feel like that the government, I'm kind of picking up on this, and I really do think they're going to try to spin this to make this somehow Bucky or Sam or Carly's fault, not John Walker's fault, that he was protecting people in some way. But that would be kind of cool. But as far as another character, I don't know. But I agree, though, the power broker better be somebody cool. I think it should be interesting. And it would be cool that I like if it is someone that ties into the rest of the MCU. I think that's cool, right? To kind of bring it out to that is a good idea, because they are entering like the X-Men territory here. I think we can all agree that they're getting a lot more X-Men stuff in here, whether it's the government, Madripoor, like all this different kind of stuff is happening. So I like
The power broker is Magneto.
Oh,
I have a pie in the sky wish who I wish it is. I don't know. I'm almost certain it's not him. Well, I have two people I'm almost certain it's not, but it would be cool if they were. My first pick is it would be cool if it's Wilson Fisk. It was straight up Kingpin from Daredevil. Especially if since Matt Murdock apparently is gonna be in the next Spider-Man movie.
And also, now that you said that, it reminded me of this description in the tweet that I saw. Whoever it was said that the character reveal is someone who is grounded in the Marvel universe. So take what meaning with that. Take whatever meaning of that you will, but that feels Wilson Fisky to me. I can get with that.
Either Wilson Fisk or another character who I don't think they haven't shown the MCU yet. I think it'd be cool to introduce this way. Tombstone. Tombstone's kind of a Kingpin type character. He's super strong because he has a hard head and things like that. That'd be an interesting character to just bring in the MCU.
That could still be the power broker. Yeah. I don't think that wouldn't be. I don't think that would be the big reveal character though. So if Tombstone is the power broker, then the big reveal character would have to be someone else. Because I feel like the big reveal character is someone that we're already going to know. And that we've already seen somewhere.
wait, you said this person is connected to Thor, you said?
No, they said that they want this character to work with Thor. I'll see if I can find the tweet because I haven't tweeted very much today, so I shouldn't have to scroll down my timeline too far to find it.
Characters, and they do so much spinning on stuff that I don't know. I don't think I know well enough the comics to be able to guess who's someone that might come in. Other than, I mean, you think at this point, it just has to relate to other characters. So maybe you're kind of thinking outside the box a little bit, which I don't know. Whoever it is,
Okay.
it'll be fun.
So I found the two tweets. The first one is from 22 hours ago. At least it was 22 hours ago when it was tweeted and I retweeted it. But it says the Falcon and Winter Soldier creator, Malcolm Spellman, hypes up episode 5, teasing that viewers are going to cry when it airs. He says the surprise cameo will be, that suggests that we already knew there was going to be one. He says the surprise cameo will be a quote, very grounded existing Marvel Comics character, end quote, that he wants to see side by side with Thor. And then a second tweet that was more recent, says Falcon and Winter Soldier's secret character is reportedly a quote unquote big unannounced Marvel character played by an award-winning actor.
Okay, interesting. But they could be fucking with us again, just like when what's his name said, I want to, this is the greatest person I've ever acted with, and it was himself. So, right? I mean, that's why I never get to
Paul Bettany.
Yeah, Paul Bettany. That's you never know who it could be. I mean, it could be a host of different people. But either way, I think it'll be fun. It'll be cool. We'll be here next week talking about it. Delvin, did you have anything that you wanted to say before we head out, or any final ideas, or you want to tell us where we can find you? Anything you want, you got the floor.
I'm just super excited to see how this show ends. And I hope unlike WandaVision, which I don't think needs a second season, I hope they have a second season planned for the show.
Okay.
I think this show is worthy of a second season. I think I like the concept of Marvel doing their own thing in TV shows that kind of blend into the actual MCU movie universe, and I want to see them do more of that. And this show to me is a more palatable show than WandaVision is in terms of it's a show that can reach the mass audiences, and you don't have to feel like, well, I don't know what the hell just happened here, but it's cool because it's WandaVision.
Mhm.
No, you can enjoy this show whether you are a big MCU fan or not a big MCU fan. I think that matters a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that WandaVision, I can't remember how you framed it, but I feel that WandaVision should not have a second season. I don't think that there is. I don't think that I don't think it needs one. I don't think there's anything there for it. I think it was meant to serve a purpose as this self-containing story that, you know, with that other vision that the government made, that can bleed into the MCU, and that's fine and that's enough. But I felt like that was a very self-contained story that was kind of meant to just set up whatever story they want to tell with how it ended, like the introduction of Sword, the introduction of Monica, the other vision that they made, all those like that stuff can bleed into the MCU. But this show, this is something that you can continue doing, especially if they kind of do Axel and you guys' idea of them essentially ending up as being the bad guys painted as such at the end of this season. Because I mean, we know the next several movies that they're going to be putting out, and none of them are Falcon and Winter Soldier. So that could be something that they do. You know, they paint these guys out as bad guys, have them on the lam, and now it's instead of a buddy spy movie, now we get a buddy escape movie. I don't fucking know, but you know, so something like that. You know, so that'd be pretty cool. I think this is something that can, and I'm not going to say should, I'll wait till it's over, but this is something that is built to have a run where like you can have a couple seasons of this that kind of play concurrently with the movies, kind of, you know, maybe have them, you know, intersect a little bit, and you know, that's it. I don't think Loki, I haven't seen it yet, obviously, but Loki also feels like something's more in vein with WandaVision, where it's going to be just a self-contained story that will kind of just give us a little bit that'll, you know, into the MCU. But yeah, I hope they have a second season too.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I agree. I think that it's, for anything, it's just format, right? Like this has a format that is more sustainable to interchanging characters, plot lines. You know, it's an espionage, spy, action thriller. It's fun, and it just keeps it moving. And WandaVision had more of a single kind of like artistic, expressive, like single idea to it, right? Like it was a feeling. And I think that if they did another season, it would have to be something totally different, right? And I never discount, hell, you know, if frickin' Damon Lindelof was like, I want to do another season of WandaVision, I'd be like, okay, we're podcasting it. Let's go.
Damon Lindelof does it. Fuck yeah, we're podcasting it.
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, whatever. If somebody good can do something, I'm all for it. But I do agree with you that the format of this show, and 4 episodes in, I could easily see this expanded and me enjoying it week to week, and almost it being like kind of a bit better Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
where we have a closer tie-in to the MCU, bigger stars, better budget. And you know, so far I'm loving it, and I have loved this time with you two as well. It's been amazing. Delvin, before we go, can you tell us where we can find you again on the interwebs?
You can check me out on Twitter at Delvin_Cox. Check out the Delvin Cox Experience and Garbage Opinions podcast anywhere you get podcasts.
And you'll hear DJ Tim Hines on that too.
You don't have to. Just mute his parts out.
Yeah. If you want to hear DJ Tim Hines get shit on for about 45 minutes, that's a really good one for you. It's a really good one for you to listen to.
Wait, he doesn't play house music on the podcast? Do you ever let him DJ at all?
Absolutely
not.
not.
All right, everybody. This has been fantastic. Next week, we're going to have Tony Teflon coming on to talk with us another amazing guest. So check out Tony on the YouTubes as well. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Delvin. Thank you, everyone, for downloading, subscribing, leaving reviews. Thank you to Claire. Thank you to Andy. Scott had a comment too on Facebook, but I think it was more of a kind of joke between me not liking the Snyder cut and him not liking the Marvel. So we didn't get too into it, but thank you, Scott, for your time and energy. We do still appreciate that you typed something in for us. Thanks again, everyone. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.